Welcome everybody to my podcast, Big Little Small Talk. I'm Megan O'Hara-Sullivan and I love to talk, but I also love to listen. If you're new here, welcome. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoy the episode. Welcome to Big Little Small Talk, listeners. My name's Megan O'Hara-Sullivan. Today I have a wonderful young gentleman whose name is Dom Tulleken. But it's not actually Dom Tulleken, it's Dom van Hoegenhoek Tulleken, or something similar. Welcome, Dom, and can you please pronounce your name for me?
So, my business name is Dom Tulleken, but my full name is Dominic van Hoegenhoek Tulleken.
Can you say it again for me, just so that I can appreciate it?
Dominic van Hoegenhoek Tulleken. And I'll let you know that not even South Africans can say it, so it's okay.
So what do they call you in South Africa?
So we used to make a joke out of it, and we used to call ourselves the Fun Wooden Head Pelicans.
Because it sounds similar?
Yeah, because it's Van Hoegenhoek, so Fun Wooden Head, and then Tulleken sounds like pelican, and even Australians here will be like, Tulleken, and they'll be like, oh, pelican, and then we'll just be like, no, Tulleken.
Well, whenever I look at your name, Tulleken, I think it's like a turducken, you know, where the chicken's inside the duck inside the whatever,
Yeah.
but it's not that either. Yeah.
It's not that either.
No. Now, when I first met you, it was because you are a disability dance teacher and you've got a company called D Dance Academy.
Yes.
So tell me about that. You're normally in a wheelchair and you have this dance company. So how did you start that dance company? And why did you start the dance company?
Well, I have had severe health issues since I was 20 years old. I'm now 32. And before that I was owning D Dance Studio in Toowoomba. I like the name so much that I try to keep it. But when I was owning that studio, I got really, really unwell throughout the year, and no one could figure out what was going wrong. And unfortunately, that studio I built to have over 100 students in 1 year. And unfortunately, because I got so unwell, I ended up closing that studio. I also took the risk by performing in the end of year concert. So they told me if I danced in the end of year concert, I risked becoming paralyzed. I took the risk. I woke up the next morning and I couldn't walk.
So hang on, you were an able-bodied person.
Yeah.
You were running a dance studio.
I was a full-on athlete. I used to ride to Highfields and back every day. I would go to the gym every day, and I would teach about 5 classes every day by myself. So
you started getting unwell. What sort of things started happening?
So I ended up with degenerative disc, L3, L4, L5, S1. No explanation as to how I got it. And then I started getting tremors throughout my hands. And it started first just in my pinky and my right hand. And then the pinky hit the ring finger, and then the ring finger hit the middle finger, and then the whole hand started going. So because it used to annoy me, I just used to strap all 3 fingers to try and stop the tremors, and then it progressed and it moved to the left hand. And then I ended up with shin splints in both legs. I ended up getting, I had to wear a back brace throughout the whole time. I ended up with sciatica. I ended up with severe migraines, to the point where I had to wear sunglasses in the house and I couldn't handle noise. A whole bunch of neurological conditions just started kicking into my system, and the doctors had no explanation as to what was going wrong.
Did they think, Dom, that it was to do with overuse of your body in the dance, or over being really stressful on your body?
So it took them 5 years to diagnose, because I closed the studio down. I didn't want to sell my business to someone else. I teach in a very different sort of way. I was the way I got into dancing was I was a severe ADHD kid and ADD kid, and I also had speech problems, occupational problems, and everything. So I used to go from school pretty much to occupational therapy, speech therapy, and I used to go do that at a special needs school. And because I was meant to end up in one of those severe special needs schools in South Africa because my disabilities were so severe. And I it was almost like going from school to school, and I was not burning off the energy. So it was like going from school to school, and then I was still this crazy child at home. And a dance teacher called Ruth Jakeman, or Ruth Fanner, she goes by both names, spoke to my mum and was just like, how about we try dancing and see if that will work, because that actually works both parts. Like, I'll be, teaching Dom discipline, and I'll also be working all those like occupational, therapies and everything. It'll teach Dom balance and everything, and hopefully we'll be burning off that energy that Dom will be, be building up throughout the day. And my family were very poor in South Africa. However, my gran, Molly, was very, very, quite wealthy, and so she offered to pay for me to go to dance. And it was actually really, really beneficial for me. And so I started with tap, and I did a bit of ballroom. I love them both. I can still do both. I'm a street tapper now as well, because I just was so into tapping. Actually, a lot of people think I'm a hip-hop dancer, but I'm actually a professional tapper, actually.
So that's not like a rapper, that's a tapper, as in the tap dancing.
A tap dancer that likes to like jump onto ladders and tap on them, jump on chairs and like slide off chairs and tap on those. So pretty much if you think of those professional tappers, tap dogs and that's what I like to do.
Dom, do you think with your ADHD and the dancing, like apart from the really physical, like that tapping, was that sort of
stimulating?
Yeah.
Very stimulating. Yeah. Absolutely loved it. Tapping was one of my favorite styles of dance, still is one of my favorite styles of dance. Unfortunately, I don't do it often because even with becoming paralyzed a few years ago, my legs just don't have that movement, and also having my degenerative disc, it's very, very, it puts too much impact on my body. So unfortunately, it's just not a style that I really do. And if I do it, it's probably like one dance and then I'm done. But yes, I started with ballroom, then to tap, then to modern. Modern is a small step down from ballet. And my teacher, it sounds funny, and she wasn't being strict, she just had this stick. And she would walk around the class and she would be like, tummies in, tap your tummy. Butts in, tap your butt. Feet together, tap your feet. And like, to most people that sounds like a really strict teacher, but she would do it in a fun way. And I think that's where I've learned my like fun style of teaching, but I've taken it to like another level where I just have a lot of fun with my kids, because I believe in Friedrich Vogel's way of teaching, because I studied education, and Friedrich Vogel is believes in fun, the fun method of teaching, and I love teaching in a fun way. I believe that if you teach kids in a fun way, they learn better. If you have fun with them, they learn better. Yes, you still have that discipline over them, and you'll be like, hey, get your butt back in line. You give them like a little, a little nudge or a little, they laugh, they get, but if you're on the same playing level as them and you're not, trying to, show them that you're the strict, horrible person, the kids are going to have fun.
Well, I want to talk about your education degree a little bit later on, but just go back to the part where you go from being an able-bodied person to being in a wheelchair.
Yeah, so they took me 5 years to diagnose me with dystonia. I was one of the first people in Toowoomba that they did diagnose with dystonia.
So explain to me what dystonia is.
It is the second neurological disorder down from Parkinson's disease. I have it right throughout my whole body. I also have a very rare form of dystonia where I have abdominal dystonia. And so pretty much, and this is one of the main reasons I need carers, because as soon as I eat, my body rejects food, and then I contort and distort, and my body tries to deform itself and like turn into, pretty much, if you think of like, you know, those scary movies where those, you know, these little things are going all deformed, that's what I turn into. It's actually deformed my body. So my one rib cage is absolutely deformed, and my spine is twisting. And it does that all the time. And it can happen when I'm eating, when I take my tablets too quickly, if I end up constipated, and if I drink water and things too quickly as well. If something's cold, can't have the cold things. I have to drink everything warm. Don't worry. You're looking at the
Just
water.
gave you a cold
I know you're looking at the water. I'm just like, it's a bit cold. But yeah, I can't handle anything cold. My body also gets too cold too quickly. I love everything warm, which is why my layers are on. So they diagnosed me with dystonia first, and then they tried to treat me for my severe migraine dystonia with Botox therapy, which is a great treatment for dystonia. Unfortunately for me, 3 weeks later, after my treatments with Botox therapy, I had a reaction to Botox therapy. It triggered a rare gene in my body that was dormant, and I had my first mini stroke. And so I have what they call hemiplegic migraines, except my hemiplegic migraines turn into mini strokes. And because of my rare gene that I carry, I'm only number 2 in the world to carry this gene. They don't know where number 1 in the world is and what their disabilities are, but all they know about this gene is that it's damaging and disease causing.
Tom, how did they know that you're number 2 and why?
So they did a genetic testing, and all the feedback that they came, because they were thinking, okay, Dom's having hemiplegic migraines, because the one I had was so severe. The first one I had was so severe. Thank goodness I was in hospital. I was there to get results for something else, and I just felt half my body start becoming paralyzed. Half of it was on fire, and the other half was like just getting completely paralyzed. And I just like went, like dragged myself into the emergency wing, and I just looked down and I could see 3 nurses, and the last thing I remember saying was, "Can somebody help me?" And I fell to the floor. And then I remember them trying to help me, and I was just on fire on one side of my body, and I remember half my body being paralyzed. And then after that I had left-sided deficit on my one side of my body, and my head was tilted to the left for 2 years, and I had to wear a neck brace for 2 years because my dystonia had attacked my neck throughout the stroke. So they tested me for hemiplegic migraine gene, and it came back that I had a different gene instead, and it said that I was number 2 in the world.
Right. So was your health just obviously deteriorating more and more and more? And at this point, could you still walk, or would you?
During this time, I was also attacked by a customer at my job. I was working in car sales, and he viciously grabbed me around the back of my neck and pushed my head down towards the vehicle because he thought there was a scratch on it. I was doing a delivery, and he destroyed my nerves going down my neck and down my legs, and so the migraines became severe, and they didn't realize it at the time, but he also messed up the nerves going down my back. So I slowly started losing my movement in my legs. So I one day I left that job because I couldn't do car sales anymore. This is when I had moved to New South Wales, and then I was doing marketing, and the one day I lost movement in one leg, and then a few days later I lost movement in both legs.
Dom, were you frightened when all of this was happening, and how were you affording to seek medical help?
So I was very frightened. At the time, marketing was doing really, really well, and the bosses allowed me, so I just continued working. My marketing job was a very, very good job for me to do, and I just continued working whilst being on a walking stick, and then eventually I moved to a wheelchair, and then I was working in a wheelchair doing marketing, no matter how much it was killing me.
Right. Not that I wanted to minimise by any means that story that you told me about the customer. So was there any retribution for that customer? And
unfortunately, I did not work for a very great company, and I will not mention them, but they decided to say that if I took it to the newspapers or anything, they would vouch that they did not see anything.
Wow. And were you able to get any counselling, or you'd have some sort of post-traumatic stress, I would imagine,
I
from
did,
that, as well as the physical injuries?
I did, but I did not go for counselling or anything. So I'm actually really only been dealing with that and going for counselling and stuff with that throughout the past 3 years.
Well, it's a terrible story to hear. Just amazing. My name is Megan O'Hara-Sullivan. We're in Big Little Small Talking, and we're talking to Dom Tulleken, who is a disability dance teacher, and he's telling me about how he came to have this dance studio. So you went from being a marketer, and at what point in this trajectory did we do an education degree?
So after I left New South Wales, I moved to Toowoomba first, and because my sister's my world, so my little sister's was back in Toowoomba, and so I moved back to Toowoomba, but at the time I was like, I don't know if Toowoomba is the place for me. And so I moved back to Brisbane, moved to Brisbane, and I was doing the same marketing job down in Brisbane because I went to the company and the other boss knew I was a salesperson and one of the top sales teams in New South Wales, so he just gave me the job straight away. And I decided that I wanted to do more, so I thought maybe education is the way to go. I said, because I really enjoyed working with kids and that, so I thought maybe education is the way they can go, because I can make enough money working 3 days a week working at marketing, and then I can study my education degree as well. So I started studying education, but I was really, really enjoying it. I did really, really, really well at it as well. I was offered scholarships to go overseas. I was meant to be going to Singapore. I didn't even realize. They were very surprised that a person with severe ADHD could do so well at the university. I went to the one here, USQ. And I thoroughly enjoyed what I was doing, and I actually helped my friends that are studying it now, I got about halfway through my degree, and then I had more strokes. I think it was when I had my next 3 strokes in a row, and unfortunately with those ones I ended up, it left me paralyzed from the shoulders down, and unable to talk. And after that, my neurologist, because I was seeing a new one down in Brisbane, Dr. Alex Len, he's at the Mater Neuroscience Centre, and he's amazing. And I saw him, and he just said to me, I really don't see there being a chance of you recovering. He said, firstly, you were misdiagnosed with functional neurological disorder for the last 8 or more years. And he said, with that being said, there doesn't look like a chance of recovery from that. The chances of you recovering from being paralyzed are slim to no chance at all. And the chances of you getting your speech back, I don't know. Now, before that, I'd already, with any other mini stroke that I had, I ended up with stutters for 1.5 years, and a thick tongue speech for 1.5 years as well. So I'd already gone through all of that.
So at this point you're unable to speak at all?
Yeah.
I can't imagine what that must be like.
And I was paralysed from my shoulders down.
Oh. And who's looking after you at this stage?
So my mum was looking after me, and my little sister was looking after me because I didn't have NDIS. And also, unfortunately, someone in Centrelink had said that I'd gotten sick before I moved to Australia instead of I'd gotten sick when I moved to Australia. So I was living off the wrong, thing. So I should have been living off the pension, but I was living off the New Start allowance.
Oh my God, it's just the dealing with the system and what really got you to a point of being paralysed and unable to speak to now you've walked in here? I know your wheelchair's just across the road in the car, but how did you make that? How are you getting better, Dom?
So I am very resilient and I don't believe in giving up. I will thank my mum for this. My mum, at one point when I was sick, a lot of people think this is like hard talk, but she came into my room one day and she was just like, you need to get yourself together and just think about like what you're going to do with your life, even if you just make a list and just go from there. She's like, you can't just sit here and just not do anything with your life. And that was kind of the kick in the butt that I needed. And it's always been the kick in the butt that I needed. And a lot of people think that's hard talk. I don't know if that's the South African way, but I like it and I needed it, and it's gotten me pretty far. I think I've probably taken it further than my mum would have liked it, because now I do things that she's just like, I don't want you doing that, and I'm just like, well, I'm doing it. But even with the studio, she's just like, oh, I think you're taking on too much, and I'm just like, I really don't mind. So, but also I was very, very fortunate that we were buying equipment off Chinese equipment off this lady in Brisbane. So there's things called a chi machine, which realigns your nervous system and your spinal column. And my aunt in the UK got us in touch with her because my aunt has one of these. So we were literally trying anything. At that point, I got a bit of my speech back. It was quite slurry. And because I was just trying anything to try and get my mouth working. And then I was paralyzed from the left side of my body and the waist down. So I only had one working hand. And I was at home by myself. Because my mom had to go to work, my sister had to go to school. So I was learning how to look after myself with one hand and move a wheelchair with one hand, clean the house with one hand, shower, cook. It was actually, when I look back at it, I'm just like, I'm really impressed for what I was able to do with just one hand. Because the left hand was completely stroke hand shut, and we actually had to like force things in it because it was just completely shut closed. So yeah, no, we met this lady, and this Chinese lady said to us, her name's Serene, and she's just beautiful, and she said to us, I know a Chinese doctor down here in Sunnybank, and his name's Simon, and I see him for my migraines, but I'm pretty certain he does therapy to help paralyzed people walk. So we were like, we're willing to try anything. So I went to go see him, and we went down 3 Fridays in a row. And on the 3rd Friday, so what he does is he does skull acupuncture, and he puts the needles into your head, and then he wiggles them, and he moves them around to activate the nerves in your brain, and he puts them in your legs as well, and he wiggles them in your arms and everything, wherever the problems are, and he stimulates the nerves to activate them. Now, it sounds really painful. Probably to someone else it's painful. To me, I fall asleep because I find it so stimulating. And then he gives you Chinese herbs to also help with whatever the problem is. His medication is the only medication that now stops me having so many strokes. And on the 3rd session, I felt tingling in my toes and some twitching, but I didn't say anything, and I got in the car and I was just looking at my mum and I went, I can feel some twitching and tingling in my toes. My mum's like, did you tell Simon? And I was just like, no. And she's like, damn, like, you should have told him. So we went down the following Friday and we saw him and I said, I felt twitching and tingling in my toes. And he's like, why didn't you tell me? I could have moved the needles even more. So he started from there, and then I slowly started getting more twitching sensation, and then slowly got more movement in my left arm, and the hand started to release itself. And now from there, whenever my health declines, he fixes me. A week and a half ago, I had a mini stroke in my sleep, and I didn't realize it, and I call her my adopted mom, but she's also one of my independent carers. And she looked at me and she said, your whole left side of your face has drooped. And I said, I didn't take notice of that when I was getting ready in the morning. And I looked and it was swollen and it drooped down. And I hadn't seen Simon because I'd put my business before therapy. And I was like, I think I've had one of my strokes in my sleep. So I went to go see Simon last weekend, or the weekend before that, and he did all his magic. He's increased my medication. I was also having severe abdominal dystonia. He gave me all my medication, and I've been so much better.
So Dom, when you see conventional neurologists and things, and you say that you're seeing Simon, what's the reaction?
So at first, it was strange looks. And it was just like, kind of, how does his therapy, beat our therapy? And even like when I go into hospital for having strokes, they try and stop me from taking his medication until I have another one in the hospital. And then they like, no, here, give him his medication, give him the medication. They're like, we're not stopping this. They're like, whatever's in this is stopping him from having the strokes and all the health problems. So they're like, just give him the medication. They're like, we don't know what is in his because they start asking him, break down what's in your herbs, because it's just like a little bag that looks like a bunch of bark grounded up, and it smells like that. It's just got like a whole bunch of like herby smells and stuff, but it looks like bark. And so they look at it very strangely, and they want this breakdown of it and everything. So Simon's trying to do like a breakdown and everything, And then when I start having like bad reactions in the hospital because they've taken me off it, they just like, nope, the doctor said give him the medication, give him the medication, because whatever's in that is helping him, and whatever we're giving him is not.
Is there a fear, Dom, that the strokes will get more severe and that you might, not wake up from one of them?
There is a possibility of that, but my thing is living in the moment. I know my dystonia can get quite severe. I was quite distorted and I looked like a cerebral palsy patient for quite a number of years. Had no strength in that, so what we're aiming to do is build my body up as strong as possible, and hopefully my body won't relapse too badly when it does relapse. I relapsed last year, so my health relapses very quickly, which is why a lot of people will see me like kind of walking for a little while, and then for like 10-11 months they'll see me in a wheelchair because of the gene and because of my dystonia and my functional neurological disorder and just every other health problem that I have. My health just will automatically relapse, and that's what my neurologist said. I'll never reach remission. I will just continuously relapse throughout my life. So for me, it's just live in the moment, have the best time possible in that moment, and then if I relapse, and that's it.
I'll just remind the listeners that you're with me, Megan O'Hara-Sullivan, and we're on Big Little Small Talk. We're talking to Dom Tulleken, who is a disability dance teacher. Tell me about the kids, some of the kids that you have at the dance school. How do you, if able-bodied or other people, normal, shall we say normal in inverted commas, want kids come, like, is it, how do you restrict that, or yeah?
So everyone is welcome. We welcome all abilities, and at the moment because I've come out as being trans, I'm actually getting kids coming out as being non-binary and everything in that. And so I'm actually getting parents bringing the non-binary kids. Yes, they have disabilities, but like they're going, hey, Dom, my kid's like non-binary or possibly trans, and we might need your help through this. And I'm just, what is a binder? And I'm just like, I'll buy the binder. I know where to get cheap ones.
Oh, okay. Well, hang on. I needed catching up there, let alone some of the listeners. Okay. Now, we're going to talk about your transitioning in a minute.
Yeah.
But just talk about what the kids do in the dance classes and stuff.
So we've got... Well, I teach not just at the studio now. I'm getting hired out to teach everywhere. But if we're talking about just the studio kids, we have a range of kids. And so the junior class is literally just autistic kids. Which, if you speak to Kieran, my teacher's assistant, her eyes would probably pop out of her head. Because the more kids that join, the bigger her eyes get. Because they are noisy, they are crazy, they run wild, and I love it.
Does it kind of remind you of yourself at that age?
Probably. I think my sister's pretty certain that I'm misdiagnosed with autism as well. So I'm actually in the process of getting looked at for the autism through the gender clinic. But I love it. They run up to me, they tug on my dreadlocks, and I'm just like, that is actual hair. That is attached to me. And then they're like, ha ha, and then they run. We have... So
how do you corral, like with a class like that, say lots of kids with autism, like how do you corral them?
You have to just be as fun and outgoing as them, but then at the same time be like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in your line. And like, they listen. And then like, they bring their squishy toys and you go, can I have a look at your squishy toy? Your squishy toy wants to play with Dom. And then they just look at you and they go,
So explain why they would have the squishy toy.
So the squishy toys are there as a comfort, and I allow them to bring their squishies. Allow them to bring their squishies or anything that brings comfort, protection, whatever is something that makes them feel safe. I will allow them to bring it. Now, a lot of studios would not allow that because they believe that that is a distraction. To me, that's not a distraction. It is something that brings them comfort, makes them feel safe, makes them feel happy. But it can be a distraction. So all you got to do is, hey, can I just have a look at that squishy? Can Dom have a cuddle with that squishy? Oh, it's a nice squishy. Oh, yeah, it's going to chill with Dom for a bit. And then they look at you and they're like, Dom. And I'm just like, you want to get back into the line and then I'll give you your squishy back? And they're like, okay.
This is a conversation I don't think I was ever going to have about the squishies. So with your troupe, I've seen you performing like at the Languages and Cultural Festival and different things.
Oh, it's grown. So it is grown.
Yeah. And I know that you're up for 3 awards in the Disability Business Awards, which is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we're looking forward to that.
Yeah. So your business is just growing and growing, and now you just opened a whole other door that we're going to walk through, that you are transitioning.
Yes.
Now, I know that there's questions that are quite insensitive to ask someone whether they're transitioning.
I'm an open book.
One of them, don't ask questions about our gender post transition.
Oh, I'm an open book. You can ask me whatever you want. I have nothing to hide.
So tell me about the transitioning. When do you think that when did you actually start transitioning, and what is the start of the process? Is it when you start taking hormones? Is it when you start identifying as a different?
So I knew 8 years ago. But it didn't come out. I tested the waters first to figure out who I truly was, and also because it was tricky waters with how I grew up. South Africa the way we grew up, we barely knew gays. I was the first to come out as gay in my community, and I did that here in Australia. And to this day, I've lost so many friends. Other people now have come out as gay, and they accept it. But for me, because I was the first, I've lost a whole bunch of people in my life. And I was hated for a lot. South Africa, and it's very, very weird because gay marriage was accepted in about 1992 in South Africa. But we didn't know anything about it. And we didn't know trans. So when I came here to Australia, and the thing was, I knew I was different. Like, I've always known I was different.
In what way?
So I was always boyish. I always wanted my shirt off. I always wanted to run with the boys. I always did all the boy things. I was more boyish than my brother. I did all the car stuff, the skateboarding, the surfing. You know, I knew I liked girls. And the thing was, I came to Australia and I got put into an all-girls school, and I was like, I like this idea. This was a good idea.
Get in a candy shop, huh?
I was like, thank you. And I got tested the waters about being gay and that, but I took 5 years to come out of being gay. My sister was the first person to know. She was 6. She had kept that secret for me for 5 years. Came out to my family. It didn't go well. It was very weird though, because when my cousin came out it was all fine, but when I came out it was not.
When's the period where you're going to go that little bit, that and obviously not all gay people want to transition, so what's that like?
So for me, I was with a partner, and I was just like, at first I had long hair, and I was getting tired of the fact of people going, I love your beautiful long hair, I love your beautiful long hair. So I cut all my hair off, and I was loving it. And then I was just like starting to dress more boyish and more masculine and that, and I love that as well. And I just sat down with, like, I had just learned about trans because my friend had a trans friend. My partner had a trans friend. So I had just learned about trans, and the more I was learning about it and that, the more I could see myself as that. But I didn't want to rush into it. But I sat with my partner and I said to them, I think I'm trans, but a part of me still kind of likes to be feminine. And I was just like, but I don't want to rush into this. And that was 8 years ago. And we found the term online at first, gender fluid. And so I was like, okay, I'll test out the waters, gender fluid. And I didn't tell my mom, dad, any of this. They just thought I liked to dress boyish and girlish. I was too scared to tell any of them that. My little sister knew everything, and I would always speak openly to my sister about gender. My sister's very loving, very, very supportive. My sister was the greatest, most beautiful kid you could ever ask for. And then I was just like, it got to the point last year I met another friend, Abby, and she's trans. And I had this conversation with her, and I was just like, I was very open, and I was just like, I don't think I'm gender fluid. I said, if I have to be completely honest with myself, I'd be leaning a lot more towards being trans. I said, but I'm way too scared to come out. I said, with the way I was brought up and with the family I'm in, it's too scary to like even think about that. And my mum was supportive of Abby, so I thought it would be reciprocated for me. So in September last year, I sat down and I told a few friends, and the friends were all supportive. Apparently they were running to each other and being like, Dom's come out as a trans man. And so I tried to sit down with my mum and tell my mum. My mum was just like, I'll love you nonetheless. So I was like, okay, that's good. My younger sister was like, oh yeah. Like, pretty much she knew. So she was just like, I love you anyway. She's always been like that. She's like, no matter what, I'll love you anyway. Because I had already been like talking to her about like, I don't really feel like this. I feel more like this. And she's like, you just need to figure it out, you know? So I always had someone to like talk to about this stuff. And then the start of this year, literally on the 1st of January, I just put a photo up and said, hi everyone, my name's Tulleken and I'm a trans man.
Because, I mean, to be fair, I met you before you started transitioning.
Yes, you did.
And, you know, very pretty, you know.
Yeah.
Very, very pretty.
Yes, and I can acknowledge that. Like, I was a very pretty girl. And I can see that, and I can see why it's hard for some people to wrap their heads around it. But at the same time, I was doing that to make other people feel secure, and I was doing that to make other people happy, but I wasn't truly happy. And like, if I see myself now, I feel so much more myself. I feel so much more happier. If other people see like photos of me and see me smiling and that, they're like, you actually look genuinely happy in those photos.
So when did you decide to start taking testosterone?
So I was going through the gender clinic, and they said, look, like, if you go through us, it's going to be a process, like a very, very long process. And you could probably only get onto your hormones probably by the age you're like 33 and a half, and I'm 32, and I was like, that's too long for me. Like, I want to start my journey now. I can't wait. Like, I don't want to wait. Like, I know who I am. I chat to my friends. I chat to my carers. I know who I am, you know? Like, I've been doing the right things, and I chat to my GP every day. And that's what I want people to know. Like, a lot of people are like, he started this journey so quickly, like, it doesn't seem right. And I want people to know, you have to know who you are before you do this. You can't just rush into it. It's not like a rush situation. You have to make sure you're talking to your friends, you're in the right mindset. You're talking to family, you're in the right mindset. You're talking to other people, and you're talking to your GP. And that's what I was doing every week before I actually started on the hormones. And then when I got to the gender clinic, they gave me a list of doctors and physicians that I could go through outside of the gender clinic. And there was one called Stonewall Medical Center. So I phoned them, and they said, we can get you in within the next, I think it was 6 weeks. And I was just like, yes. So I got in, and they ask you just the same thing. A lot of questions. And I mean questions of what you were like as a kid when you were younger. How were you as a kid? And it's very in depth.
Did you worry about taking the testosterone with your medical condition? And did you check with Simon? What Simon thought?
Yeah. So no. I was too afraid to tell Simon. I love Simon, but I was just like, he's a Chinese doctor, and I'm terrified of telling him. So I was so terrified of telling Simon, but I spoke to my neurologist and I spoke to my GP, and both of them said that they're going to keep an eye on me, and they actually had a funny feeling that the testosterone actually might help some of my neurological conditions. They had this feeling that in some way the testosterone actually might help me, because it might actually be a hormone that was needed in my body this entire time.
Like a muscle strengthener or
Yeah.
something like that. Listen, I'm running out of time, but what I do want to just get your perspective, do you think people treat you differently as a man?
I think
do you feel like you've seen life from both sides now?
I think I have, but like, not in a bad way. Like, my friends are definitely like, you are definitely more masculine now, and like, we don't see the feminine part of things and that. But like, I'm definitely getting treated in a very respectful manner and everything.
I just mean, once I heard about a fellow who transitioned to being a woman, and he couldn't believe how disrespected he was as a woman. Like, I just wonder whether you are around men who don't know that you've transitioned and they're sort of being disrespectful to women or anything like that.
No, I haven't had any of that lately, and I think if I ever were to have that, I'd definitely stand up for the woman in that, because like, I have so many strong, amazing women in my life. Like, I have all the women, like, and friends, and my sister and things like that. Like, most of my friends and most of the women that support me and like people that are around me in this community are women. And like, I've got like Maud and Jen and people like that. Like, they are all strong, amazing women. And I think if anyone were to disrespect women in front of me, I would be like, excuse me.
So now, you did say before that, that you're just living every day as it comes. I did have some questions to ask you, but unfortunately I've run out of time. But I will ask you this one. If you could do anything illegal without getting caught, what would you do?
I'm from South Africa. Look, I really don't know.
Just in terms of living every day,
I have done so many things that I was a little bit of a mischief maker. We used to jump off train bridges and everything in South Africa. So, and we got up to a lot of mischief, and our parents just let us run wild in the safest way possible, I think. But if I were to do anything illegal, I know that I saw your question about the doing the 3 most things on your bucket list.
Yeah.
And I've already done 3 of them, and I've flown a plane so far. I've gotten my motorbike license, and I've gone wakeboarding. All things that I probably shouldn't have done whilst being disabled.
Right. And transitioning wasn't on your bucket list, or was it just an overarching thing?
It was probably just the thing that I've always needed to do, so it wasn't on my bucket list. But I've still got so many other things that I want to do on my bucket list, just because of the fact that I live every day as it comes. So I've got so many things that I just want to keep doing, because even though my trainers and that are like, you're not ready, and I'm just like, I need to keep living, because I don't know where my health is going to take me.
Sure.
So yeah,
all right.
I go from there.
Now, royals. I don't know about the South Africans, whether they're into royals, but who's your favourite royal, Dom?
Look, I had to think about this, because we're not necessarily into royals. But if I had to go with a royal, I think I'd have to go with Prince Harry. And I think it's probably because of the fact that he's just so... He takes life, he faces his family, and he just goes against them and lives his life the way he wants to. He's, carefree and everything. He's supportive of everyone. And I really admire him and Meghan Markle, the way they live their lives and that. So I think if I had to go with someone, it might have to be him.
Now, I don't think I've asked anyone more appropriate this question. What's the song that can't keep you off the dance floor?
At the moment, it has to be the 2 songs that I'm teaching my kids to dance to, and they're going to sound ridiculous. One is the Sweet Little Bumblebee song, because the junior kids are dancing to the Sweet Bumblebee song, and you'll see that at the International Street Fiesta. And you're gonna love the dance they're doing, but it is in my head, embedded in my head. And the other one is gonna take you guys by surprise, but the senior kids are dancing to Cloud 9 by Baker Boy, and it's an Aboriginal song. And we are very, very keen to show you guys what we got, but it's a very new style that the senior class will be doing. We've got a whole hip hop crew sort of look going. We've got some break dancing thrown into it and everything. So you're gonna have disabled kids doing break dancing and crumping and wave dancing and a whole bunch of fun stuff. And I mean, they've worked super hard on this dance, so we can't wait to show it off.
And that will all be at the International Street Fiesta.
Yeah,
wonderful.
Senior class is performing 3 dances, and the juniors are performing their first ever dance.
Well, Dom, I will look forward to that. Dom, thank you for sharing your journey with me today. It's just been a real pleasure to have you on Big Little Small Talk, and good luck for the future. I think the future is bright. Big things will happen for you for sure.
Thank you so much for having me, Megan. It's been great being here with you.
Thank you. That's it for this week. Thanks for joining me on Big Little Small Talk. I hope you can make the time to join me next week. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on your favourite podcast app.